What up?
Oh, I'm muted. All right, there we go. Now I'm good.
What's up, Will?
Oh, not much. Just trying to find some more things to get into before the market moves again. This should be the last leg, and then we can look for downside.
Are we still not sure if we to get into the what was the thing you posted yesterday? The shit.
It's just a meme coin if you want to get into it.
Is
Yeah,
that
it's a
so? Is that what was the one was the psyop? Is the psyop and the other thing they're connected?
so one side up, the other ones, yeah, they're connected. They're going to be an ecosystem. I'm sure Ben and Bitboy are going to build them out together somehow, somewhere. Honestly, I just don't go in there with the expectations of just like throwing a bunch of money at it. Like,
No, no, no.
you
It'll
know,
just be like a 50, like a small thing, but still,
yeah,
I
you
still
could throw 100, you can throw 50, you can throw 200, whatever,
exactly.
whatever you feel like putting in there.
So what's the other thing? Sorry, it's lucky or trust.
Loyal, I think is what it
Loyal,
is.
that's it. Loyal, yeah. So loyal and PSYOP, they're connected. If you buy,
Loyal, SOP, and Ben are all connected. All three of them.
if you send, if you buy PSYOP, you'll get the loyal airdrop.
You still have to buy loyal too.
Okay, but we can buy all of those things now.
Yeah, yeah. So the loyal you have to send to the address that he gave, which is what he did for PSYOP. And
Okay,
then the bin is just having bin, right? And you can get bin for free just by having PSYOP. So like I got bin the other day for free in my wallet. So I don't know. I look at it like this: look, they're shit coins, right? At the end of the day, they're airing opportunity. I would say BitBoy has his name tied to this project, so he needs to make it work. Otherwise, he's gonna fuck himself. And he's built a business, in my opinion, that it's worth keeping around. So if he end up, I don't think the coin would be worth running. You see what I'm saying? Like
for sure, for sure.
it doesn't make sense to me for him to want to rug that. So
Yeah,
expectations are this turns into something probably big in the next bull run. So just I'm just positioning appropriately. See dips, I'll buy little bits here and there, but like I'm not going like, hey, I'm gonna throw half my net worth in here, or like a quarter, or even 10%, right? Like I'm putting a little bit in there, maybe like
for sure.
1.2%, something like that, between the three of them. By the way, that's split.
Uh, All right, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
some cash in there. Why not?
Yeah, it's just it's a little bit of a gamble at the end of the day. It's not a real investment, in my opinion. But I look at it from the name that's behind it, so that's where I'm getting involved with it. A lot of the stuff, like you'll see like a bunch of random stuff I've been posting. It's more of a, I would say, engagement farming, right? I'm just trying to keep attention, keep things rolling, stuff like that, grow my Twitter. So like not everything is like something you should really kind of take too seriously, but like I do put some words behind it because there is a meaning behind it, right? Like when I talk about ordinals, for instance, right? Like I'm not a super bull on ordinals, for instance, but like it makes sense in the fact that in the way that I laid it out, right? It brings attention to Bitcoin, it brings adoption to Bitcoin, it brings altcoiners to Bitcoin, and so on and so forth. So it is positive for the space overall. So people complaining about it, it blows my mind when people go to the extent of being like, well, it's Bitcoin, it's supposed to be used for store value. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, the more transactions on Bitcoin, the faster the halving comes around. There's a lot of factors that make this positive. And then somebody else brought up, I think today, and said, "What about network congestion?" That's like, didn't ETH have network congestion? What happened with ETH? They came out with layer two. So I'm like, this innovation always finds a way, right? Even if things don't look too great from the network standpoint and it looks congested, looks like it won't work out for ordinals, it could still do things at the end of the day.
Right.
Um,
Is that
yeah,
a ploy to try to move the halvening up? I never thought about that till you just said that.
yeah, a lot of people didn't think about it from that perspective, right? A lot of people are just looking at it like you guys are ruining the network. You're congesting the network. No, they're actually speeding up the network and the happening by creating activity on the network. That's why like a lot of people think that the happening is like every so many years and stuff like that, and they think that the time span has to remain the same. If Bitcoin becomes used more, right? then basically more blocks get solved and the halvenings come faster rather than take longer. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. Like, you can kind of balance that out. It's an innovation to the upside. There will be downside against that too. And the downside against that too is like the more liquidity that's in there, the slower Bitcoin will move, the less, volatility it will create, and the less volatility in Bitcoin will basically, make these blow-off tops take longer to occur, rather than less time to occur.
And
So-
transactions will be more expensive, right?
Correct. Yep. Transactions will be more expensive. Buying it be more. There'll be a lot of factors in there. That's why when assets gain so much liquidity, it's just, as a retail investor, it's not worth your investment, in my opinion. Like, I'm more of a high risk, mid risk. Right. I don't really like taking like super safety, but I do have some safety plays to kind of balance out my portfolio because it makes sense. But like, I'm trying to grow my portfolio, and growing does not involve, bonds and stuff like that. It involves it involves high beta, taking opportunity when you see it and investing in that opportunity and knowing when to get out of that opportunity and move it to something else that makes sense. A little bit less risky, right? Whenever
How
I
much
play
sooner-
what's that?
Sorry, how much sooner you think that is possible to move up to halving?
It could be a month, could be a week, could be 2 months. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about looking at this coming cycle. It's about creating adoption that can basically move it up indefinitely. Does that make sense?
Like, so not the next halving, but just
It could be. It could be the next happening. We get a shorter, I would say, span between now and the next happening, right? If
Right.
enough adoption occurs. But like, as people become more comfortable with ordinals and ordinals become more used in the space, then you're going to create more activity, right? And that takes time. That's what we call adoption, right? Adoption phase hasn't quite set in for ordinals. It's just kind of like in its baby infancy stage, just like NFTs were. And you saw NFTs last cycle, they popped off, right? You're talking about Bored Apes going for hundreds of millions of dollars. So, ordinals are just like really in their infancy. They're like crypto kitties in a sense, kind of how that started out, and everybody kind of laughed at crypto. Now crypto kitties are worth a lot. It's all about your views and like, how you feel about it. And there's a lot of ordinals, like they're all free mints. A lot of them are free mints. You just got to go pay to mint them, which is like $20, $30, and you can get a bunch of them. And then, if they become a thing, or, maybe they could become nostalgic or something like that, then the value of them will be, whatever people are willing to pay for them at the end of the day. Like, I would say, like, if you guys are interested in that, like, it's a deep conversation. I would go into spaces that like talk about ordinals and kind of listen and understand what they're talking about. Because like they even have this thing where it's like, rare sats and stuff like that, and certain types of Bitcoin, and those rare people will pay X amount of money for just a single sat, because of where it came from and how rare it is, and so on and so forth. Like one of the first sats that was ever created or whatever, right? And they have ways of identifying that on blockchain. It's a deep conversation. I would love to have it, but I want to get through markets tonight. So I would say
was that a big top? Was that a big buzz at in Miami, the ordinals and the BRC 20?
no, actually, ordinals is just something I've been looking into in my own time.
Yeah.
Nobody in Miami is really talking about ordinals. I think a lot of the Bitcoin maxis and stuff like that don't like ordinals, which I get their perspective, but like they need to understand how it works. And like, I'm not saying they need to understand, but I don't feel that a lot of them do understand, right? And that's why I kind of broke that down in the way I did in that post, so people can read through it and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? And I don't think a lot of people are looking at it from that angle. They're just looking at it like, oh, it congested the network, it's garbage, just get it off here. They're not understanding that it can benefit crypto as a whole, because if the halving happens for Bitcoin quicker, then the crypto bull market happens quicker, right? So essentially, that's the way I look at it.
Where was that post? Just one last thing on that. What post did you? Was it a tweet or was it?
Yeah, it
on
was
the,
just a tweet.
Okay.
It's a long-winded
Okay.
thread. No, we ain't
Makes
doing a
sense.
3 hour, 59-minute session. It's not gonna happen. All right, let me get into the charts here real quick. Yeah, sorry about like these random times, guys. Like I have so much going on now, like it's crazy. And I got to keep up with all my socials and everything. And like once you get to that point, it's a pain, man. Because you got to come up with
Um,
ideas, and you got to post those ideas, and you got to keep people engaged so you can continue to grow your following and stuff like that, and do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So Bitcoin, a lot of people tried to short here. I went long in this area. We have the big drop down. You have your kind of falling wedge breakout. You're now in a bear channel forming to the upside. You have your impulse 1, your impulse 2, and I was looking for the impulse 3, which I think is currently playing out right now as we speak. We've already got the pop here, looking good. We just needed to remain above this line right here, which is exactly where we closed, and where we closed. And because we're above that line right there, expectations are this thing swings back up hard, right? We're probably going up to like anywhere's at the top of this channel. We could hit all the way up to like roughly 38K if they wanted to. If they pull it up here, you're capped at 36.3, 36.5. You might hit that as your high end range. So what I want, and now keep in mind, they can float this on a distribution just like they did here, just like they did here. Because once they hit the high here, what did they do? They tried to float it higher, right? And then came back. And then they hit the high here, and what did they do? They tried to float it higher and then came back. And then what will they do here? They'll hit the high, they'll come up a little higher, maybe 38Ks, and then they'll come back. Now, here's the issue with price, right? So once you move into one of these type of moves, hold on one second. So once you move into one of these type of moves, you're basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then after your fifth wave, you're looking for just a big retrace, right? So expectations are here that we'll probably see price from there pull back pretty hard, probably into like an ABC. So like I said, they can move up here. Really, I think they'll be capped kind of right here. I don't think that they'll get to 38K. I think a lot of people's expectations are 40. And, I don't think it gets there. I think it just kind of rolls in here around a 36, 37. It doesn't peak like it did over here and over here because we're in our fifth impulse wave, right? You got one move, consolidation, 2 moves, consolidation, 3 moves, you're going to get consolidation. It's that no peak high, like liquidity grab up here type move, right? You're just going to hit and then you're going to kind of roll and then people are going to expect another move, but that's not how it's going to work. This is a bear flag. Basically we'll peak out wherever, right? We'll say like peak out like 37. And now it'll occur over here. Keep in mind, look, the time frames have always been roughly the same, right? A little bit extended on this one. They went a little bit further on this one. So really this one looks like a breakdown, but the reality is we're also a little bit out right here, right? So if we were to pull that down, we would be hitting the channel perfectly. So the way I'm looking at it is a lot of people's expectations here will be that they'll try and go for 40. I don't think they will. I think that they'll come up, they'll hit this liquidity right here, all the way up maybe in the right there, right? So these two spots right here is what I'm looking for. There is a gap up here, fair value gap. And basically, I think they would fill that fair value gap. Now, keep in mind, all these were filled, right? The only one that wasn't filled was this one right here. I don't expect them at all to go for this one. I think a lot of people are going to expect them, but I think they're going to come back before that happens. So they come up, they hit all these fair value gaps, and roughly right here is where I think they'll stall, which is like right in here. So I'm looking for basically the market kind of roll over up here. So they're going to see, people are going to see this distribution, right? Just like they did here, just like they did here. Expectation is going to be another breakout. What is going to happen here is the market is going to do a big, now, once you get a 5 wave, you get a 3 wave down. So it's an ABC. Market's going to get a big retrace. It's going to break structure here, probably about 26, bounce back up, use it as resistance, and then come back down to the C, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back out. Now, why and how would I know that, and why would I think that, and so on and so forth? Because this is a bigger move, right? It's a bigger move in play. Now, I'll explain the green one in a second. The bigger move is, now this is if the market stays bullish, right? If the market stays bullish, oh, not that one. it's going to be a bigger move like this. 1, 2, and you're just basically going to catch support. Now, keep in mind, this is the 19 to 21K zone is where I'd be looking to dial in if that were to happen. I would dial in here regardless, and then I'll explain the green one here in a second. 3, 4, 5. That would be your impulse move, right? Basically, your 3 would kind of stall out somewhere along, somewhere along here, right? You're going to hit this 3, and then you're going to bounce down, and then expectations are going to be, that we're going to reject here, and then we're going to bounce. Now, we're going to bounce off of more than likely this line right here that I have across, which will put us like right in here, but there's also a good possibility we bounce all the way up here. That's another one too. So they come back, they break out, we get above previous all-time high angle top. And then once we get up here, people start freaking out, telling us how we're going to go to $250,000, $500,000 Bitcoin. And then, the show ends again. So it'll be a second show ending. This is really what I see right here playing out if the market remains bullish, right? And your 3 obviously is your biggest wave, just like right here would have been your 3, right? And you're probably like, well, where was your 4 and 5 up here? Well, I'll show you your 4 and 5. So you basically had your drop, your 0 into your 1. Oh, whoops, sorry. Your 0 into your 1, into your 2, into your 3, into your 4, into your 5. And if you notice, 5 exceeded 3, right? 5 exceeded 3. So that was your 5th wave right there. Your 3 was your longest wave. This was your overall wave structure. So expectations are same thing over here. And as you can see, Bitcoin's not really making significant highs like it used to, right? Bitcoin's making way less highs than what it used to. It used to be like exponential highs. Now you're getting to a point where Bitcoin's so heavily weighted, you need mass adoption to set in, right? To push Bitcoin any further harder. Or you need, basically structure to build out, and this will be like a bigger time frame consolidation range. So it'll be something like this. Continually forming higher highs, right? And then when you get mass adoption, what that looks like is once this range is kind of breached, like let's say they continue to play these ranges at the highs, then eventually in a mass adoption scenario, you get the real breakout. Which would be something like this, right? Just a big move up. Now, you guys are probably like, what are you talking about? Yada, yada, so on and so forth. That's insane. So look, I'll show you the same exact thing happened here with Tesla. So Tesla got into a phase, boom, 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 boom. And you can see right here, it's moving to the upside, right? This is a bear flag pattern. And then it broke above the bear flag here. Nobody believed it was going to really go anywhere. They thought it was a deviation. And then it just ran. See that right there? This is what we call adoption phase. This is an adoption phase right here. So this is the disbelief phase. This is where people believe, then don't believe, then believe, then don't believe, then believe, then don't believe. Now, keep in mind, they're not believing at the lows, right? They're believing at the highs. And this is your typical retail move. And once they get into that move, then the market's like, you know what? We can drive this thing. And what happens to volume? Volume starts to pick up hard here, right? So the market, so you got market participants and retail participants. So you got market participants selling, right, into the retail. And then you got when I say market, I mean like institutions. You got institutions selling into retail. You got retail selling down here at the lows. And then you got institutions buying here at the lows, right? Institutions selling here at the high and retail buying at the high. And you've got this constant exchange of hands. Now, eventually what happens is retail and institutions push to a certain point. Now, institutions aren't buying here. Institutions bought all of this, right? They bought all that. Retail is what pushed this out. And then once retail pushes this out, Now you've got institutions that got all the lows and retail bought all the highs. Now we then do the same thing, right? It says we work to the downside. And that's just basically institutions repositioning for the new placement of the move. So you got the big breakout. You got institutions buying the lows again, causing retail to sell their positions again here at the high. It's the same move. Then you get a breakout again, and then you're doing the same thing again. Now you're building on top of building on top of building. So 1, 2, 3 waves, right? And then you get a second adoption phase right here. So we get adoption phase 1, your big one, adoption phase 2 right here, right? And your adoption phase 3 right here. And now, because we've had 3 adoption phases already occur, you're basically pulling back on that move. And you're not pulling back in any of these ways, right? You're pulling back extremely hard because you're getting a sell-off of people that were positioned all the way down here. So this is the move you don't want to get caught in. Bitcoin, I don't think, has reached that on a bigger scale yet. So that this will occur to Bitcoin too, once these adoption phases fully kind of weigh themselves in. So, I mean, from an overall standpoint, Bitcoin, I think, will stay relatively capped to oh, this thing is messed up again. Hold on a second. Oh, of course it is. All right, we're gonna go over here. Give me just a second. I need to close a bunch of these. Look at NASDAQ. Basically blew out my ascending wedge. It's not even a thing now. Like, even if I try to angle it, I would just basically be lying to myself. So go back over here. Let's go into here. And we'll get into indices after this, guys. So just give me a little bit. So you have your a very similar situation right here, right? So exactly like how Tesla did, you could basically just draw a channel, right? And just be like, all right, this is like the beginning phase, and now we're kind of like in this phase, right? So that's your capped market right there. So your market should stay in between these two areas, and then eventually you'll get the breakout. If you get a breakout above, which is probably what will end up happening, because when you get to a zoomed out position, you'll see this looks very similar to kind of what occurred here for Tesla. Boom. Very, very similar. Hold on, let me bet this up. That, and that. See this right here? And then if you took Bitcoin and zoomed out, it's a very similar move here. So you had your initial adoption phase in, right? And now Bitcoin is ever growing from there. It is a capped market though. We have to accept that, right? We did get a blow off top in here. Right in here. But we can see we came short over here. So what does that mean for our next market over here? It means we'll probably see another blow off top. So this is your halving right here. If we're to see a blow off top over here, maybe like all the way up to here, right? Maybe somewhere around like 140, 150. Because I think this one right here went above how much percent here? Let's measure that. 50%. So if we were to say like this is your blow off, 50%, you'd be at like 159, 160, which is what we talked about before, right? We talked roughly in the 160 range, more or less. But I think it'll be between 120 and 160 will be your top. So this ideally is kind of your position that you'll be looking to take, especially because we came short over here, right? We came up short over there, didn't quite make the top end. Let's say the bottom's in, yada yada, so on and so forth. We hit all the lows. At that point, like we're in the position to play this to the upside. At going into the halving, we're looking at something like 60K or whatever. But if it's not in, this thing can drastically angle, right? And then at that point, we're looking at coming all the way down and hitting these 11, 12K zones. So we have to be cautious in that factor if that were to play. So don't be too bullish, but like understand the move, right? And this one would actually play out better because you touch, you basically touch, and you touch the previous high market, right? This was kind of your Pico that kind of broke out a little bit. And then we would come back down and retest the lows before we'd swoop out into the next halving. And that would also kind of cap the halving, right? The halving would actually be more capped over here. So you would have to kind of Pico out right here in this green zone. So this green zone is literally just a copy of all previous bull markets. This was the shortest one. Then all the other ones beyond that were basically about the same size. And if you notice here, when you look at the chart, bull markets are the shortest out of all these, right? So you got bull, you got bear, you got consolidation. Bull, bear, consolidation. Bear is longer than bull. Consolidation is longer than bear and bull. It's basically both of them combined, if you look at it. And we basically got this thing over here. We got the bull, which led into the high, all the way into the bear, which is basically the same size as the other bears, and to the consolidation range, right? And consolidation can easily revisit the lows. It has in the past, and it could do it again. So we're kind of getting into what we call the adoption curve phase, I think, for Bitcoin, where it curves, and then at some point, it has the real adoption phase that comes, right? And this is what a lot of people talk about, but they don't know how to explain it correctly. So I showed you with Tesla how that works. It's basically just that rollover. You continue to consolidate in between these two price zones until you get a mass adoption scenario that pushes price way outside of range, right? You just got to know, like, once that mass adoption phase happens, that's a ride you'll want to be on, but it's also a ride you'll want to get off because you don't want to be in this scenario right here, like where Tesla's at, right? You lose a lot of your wealth, majority of it, eating that downside. So you're already at 75% minus by just sitting here in Tesla if you sat in it to the lows. So you have to be careful with those, but this is kind of what I'm thinking for Bitcoin overall. Let me explain the green side and then we'll go through some other charts. So just like what we talked about with the 11, 12K scenario, which I think is still in play. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's a possibility, right? It just means it's a possibility. Always, always, always keep your mind open to possibilities. You don't want to get caught off sides if the possibility plays. You want to have money ready for it. You're not looking to throw your whole bag in and expect price to go there. It's not a smart move. There's a lot of things that are down 90% plus. We'll talk about those too, that are worth buying even if prices get worse. So we can see right here, Bitcoin's back above 27K. This was exactly the scenario I was talking about. And, will we hold? We'll see at the end of the day. This thing's either going to hold and go, or it's going to fail and roll. One of the two. So you're probably like, well, what's this green arrow right here? So this would be like a W formation, double low angled to the low side right here. Right here. And I would almost bet you if this were to occur, right? If this were to occur, this is a W formation. It's the most bullish sign you can get. You had an M here, a W would make sense here. And then not only the W, you would probably get a bullish div indicating exactly this scenario if this were to happen. Just my thoughts. I have a bull and bear scenario. I have different plans set out for both of these scenarios. I know some of you are like, well, what do you think the likeliness of that is that happening, so on and so forth. I'm going to buy all in there. That shouldn't be how you should be thinking about the market, guys. You got to be thinking logically, right? What does that mean? That means as price goes lower, what are you supposed to be doing? Buy, gets lower, buy. Oh, hits my target. Buy in big. The biggest problem with a lot of people is they get to this point right here, right? They get to this point, and what do they want to do? Anybody, what do they want to do?
Sell.
They want to wait some more.
Exactly. Erica hit the
Buy lower.
nail on the head. They're like, oh, it's going to go deeper. It's going to drop more. I'm going to get a better price. And then what happens? Because keep in mind, I was talking with quite a few members.
Takes
Hey,
off.
let's start looking at alts, guys. Let's start looking at alts, guys. Let's start looking at alts, guys. And I was
Well, that's
calling
why
alts out.
I was gonna contest you a little bit just because of what you just asked us. Because you said like, oh, when you get down there where your big circle is, but you don't wait until you get way down there to put like the most of your money. You should have put like the most of your money like on the step above.
Yep. You should be majorly in up here. And then whatever you have left, if you get here, that's what you put in.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. Because I can tell you more often than not, the market will shift against you if you're looking for an ideal target. So
It knows everybody wants to go there. So
and they can definitely scalp you out too, right? They can keep you from getting to that price. They could scalp you a little higher. And if you're setting buys exactly at a specific price, they'll see that on the books. Doesn't mean they're going to go for you specifically as an individual, but I'm just saying, like, these are things that people look for. So where do I get that liquidity zone from? Well, I get it from the last move up, down, and breakout, right? So this liquidity right here would be the target price area if they were to go kind of bearish like this, right? So kind of a lower low. What would this do? This would shake out the entire crypto industry right now. You know, it would wreck a bunch of businesses. It would cause a lot of people to sell bottoms. And rather than buying these bottoms, they would be selling these bottoms like, oh, it's going to go deeper. When the reality is, it'll more than likely balance out the liquidity. And you're probably like, well, where do you come up with this theory? This has never happened, so on and so forth. It has happened. And where this happened specifically is SPY, which I thought I had up, but maybe I don't. Let me see here. I'm gonna close ADA. Let me open it up real quick. So it happened over here with SPY right here. Right there. Same move. And this is like the ETF, you know, like the or not the ETF, this is the indexes, right? So indexes, I think, are very comparable to Bitcoin as far as liquidity, the way it moves, and everything else. So this has occurred before where you form that lower low move before you break out. So it's not the only idea that, you know, that has come there. Now, you're probably like, well, this one came all the way up and then came all the way down and then came all the way up. It could do that. It could do that. If we were to go back for all-time high before the halving, this is 100% would be my expectations. Why? Why would it be my expectations, anybody? Before the halving.
It was a liquidity grab.
It's a liquidity grab. Exactly. It is a run up to take money. That's exactly what it is. Whenever an asset acts out of character, it's going to do it in both directions. It's going to do it to the upside. And then guess what? It's going to also do it to the downside, which is precisely what happened here. It basically broke down, V-shaped out, acted out of character for SPY, and then came back and took all that liquidity again and then moved out again. Think of how many people washed this market right here. This market was a washout. You sat in here for 5 years to get back to all-time high, and then they take it all away again. You know how many people are financially devastated in this move? This is why 2008, 2009 was so bad. It wasn't so bad because of the big crash. It was bad because the same people that got washed here just got washed in 2000. Imagine being here, being 48 years old. Well, actually, we'll go with 55, right? You're 55 here. You're 60 now. You're like, man, I'm getting ready to retire. I'm gonna wait till 65, and then boom. Imagine your 401k there. Can you stop working and go on your 401k and collect benefits? More than likely not. right? Unless
So
you
what
want
was
to take a
that? That
massive
took like
loss.
50% of your 401k?
Oh, it took more than that.
Oh my God.
57%. If your 401k mostly derived of SPY. Now, I'm sure other stocks were way worse in this area if I were to go back and look. But I'm just telling you, like, this is a scenario that wrecks people, right? Now, if you're not retiring, hey, nothing to worry about. You can ride that thing out, right? But if you were, some people sold here at the lows because they needed the money. They're retiring. They're getting out. They're like, I'm not doing this anymore. And they lost 90% of their money, 50%, 60%, depending on how spread out their portfolio was or their 401k. And then the market goes and recovers 2 years later back to all-time high. How would you feel? You'd feel like the stock market's a scam. But these things can happen in the stock market. That's all I'm saying, right? So don't rule it out. Now, if the market doesn't act irrationally and move to the extremes back for the highs, right? So if the market sits there and goes up and falls over right here, yeah, I could see a higher low, right? Because the market didn't act irrationally. It ran up. It hit its, look at that midpoint. It hit its midpoint, came back, and went for it, right? Everything in this game is about momentum. That's all it's about, right? So to go up, you need to go down. To go down, you need to go up. That's all it is. So you had your down move, you have your up move, you have your down move, and then you have your up move. Now, if you keep in mind, look at that. Interesting, right? Hit the low right before the takeoff after the halving, and then you're sitting here roughly about the same price range. And that's about where they're heading, right? So ideally, this is the move before the move out. But there is a possibility in a world where they come back to grab the liquidity from here because there's still gaps here and then move out. And then I would just have to readjust my chart. So that's my thoughts, I would say, on Bitcoin. I don't want to long-wind this too much, but that's my bull and bear case, man. And both of them are bull for now, bear for later, but it's just how bearish, right? That how bearish can it get? And I think a lot of people's expectations are like, hey, I want this thing to burn. I mean, the reality is, look, if crypto goes to those extents of like 12K, you'll get life-changing money out of that, 100%. But you got to understand the devastating position the economy's got to be in. And I'm just not seeing it right now. Just not. Right? Doesn't mean it can't come, but like there's no signs right now showing that things are going to collapse or crumble. Is housing overly expensive? Yeah, hell yeah. I completely agree. I'm not going to argue with anybody on that. I think it is. I think it's obscene how much it costs to get a house compared to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And we consider to say, well, cost goes up. No, number go up is not an answer. It's not a result. 20-year, move to bring inflation to double the pricing of housing is insane because wages haven't even kept up with that, right? If wages kept up, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'd be like, hey, it's a fair price. But wages haven't even come close to keeping up with inflation overall in the past 20 years. Not even close, especially not minimum wage. But moving back into the charts, let's see what we got here. Question. At 2. Yeah, it's either a higher low or a lower low. I don't see an in between. I don't see a double bottom. I see a higher low or a lower low. So if it starts heading back for like 15.8, it'll probably break and go deeper, right? And go into those numbers. If it stays above 19 to 20K, I'd say it's going to hold and it's going to reverse back up. And believe me, when we get to those ranges, right? When we get to, and I believe we will get to those ranges, when we start getting to 22, 20K, it could even be 22. When we start getting into that range, though, I'm going to be posting like a madman on a daily basis, like trying to keep people up to date on where I think price is. And if I think it's going to reverse there, if I think it's going to go deeper, I will definitely keep you guys up to snuff on my thoughts on that. But as of right now, it's nothing we need to worry about right at the moment. Right now, at the moment, we need to worry about upside. That's what I think is going to occur here. This is the second time in the past week they've popped this candle up, right? So they had it up here at 27. They allowed them to push it back down, and now we're right back up here again. They are floating the move. Look, this is basically, that's a double bottom right there, right? When it comes to body candles. And I talked to you guys about this many, many times. Body candles over wicks, right? Wicks are just noise. Body candles. Oh, now a lot of people are viewing this as a lower low, and it is. It is a lower low. But it's a dropping pattern that is slowed that wants to roll back up, right? And same thing occurred right here. Dropping pattern. It didn't form a lower low over here, right? Necessarily. It basically came back, same liquidity zone, higher low, broke, right? Over here, it's kind of formed a little bit of a lower low, but you could see the support here. You can see the support here. So as long as you see support, you're in the zone where you want to be. Now you're probably like, what's this orange box right here? This orange box right here is where I identified liquidity on the daily structure. And this same orange box is above where they broke out, right? So what range did they have to break to create this new distribution zone? They had to break these highs, right? So if price is going to remain up, like they've been building, right? This is a structure they've been building on. Then what they need to do is they need to remain above the one, right? Which is your one right here. What did they do? They came back and tapped just above it, but these market makers are not letting you touch this one. They're not letting you touch this one because they have intentions on pushing the market up, right? Now, if they came back and broke into the one, like a lot of people want them to, 24K, 22K, what have they done essentially here? What have they done? Anybody?
Invalidated the move.
They've invalidated the move, and if they invalidated the move, which direction will the chart be going?
Down.
Yeah, it'll go down. It will not go back up again. If they invalidate the one here, they will start breaking into the two. And now, instead of your trend being uptrend, even though it's a bear flag, it would then be a reversal move back down. And it would invalidate this entire move. They have to keep structure above structure as they're building to build confidence. When you see defensive moves, right? Defenses happen above liquidity zones. What did they need to break to get BTC out of here? They had to break this zone right here, right? This zone right here. Well, technically, they had to break this zone. Now, where did they fake everybody out? Right here. But where did it close? Right back up in your consolidation zone. So everybody was like, oh, they're going to come back for the wick. And what did they do? Impulse 2. Understand impulse moves. Impulse 1, impulse 2. Don't get blindsided. And this is why I said we're going to have a third. We're going to have a third. Because it's always threes. It's always threes. Now, here's the thing. What about this wick? What about it? Anybody? Well, they'll come back for it later. Later. That's the part where people get blinded, right? They want to see that wick recaptured, and they want to see it now. But if you're short here, what are they going to do? They're going to take you out. And then if you come up here, what's everybody's position going to be with the market?
Short.
I don't know.
They're gonna go Super
From
Bowl.
up there?
They're going to go Super Bowl, I think.
100K.
You're going to have people already talking about all-time high. Look how close you are. But the wave structure wouldn't allow for that. The wave structure would say 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. Then guess what? Wicks filled.
Oh, you asked us what would they do, not what would we do. What do we think?
Yeah.
different.
Well, everybody, us, all of not necessarily us in this group, but retail would probably be max bull up here. Everybody long of this. Everybody was long of this. Now, guess what? Everybody's shorting this. And they did the same thing here. Nobody's taking profit. They're basically long in the highs and shorting the lows. Because nobody can identify a very easy to see bear flag. It's very easy. I've seen nobody on Twitter talk about the bear flag that's playing out right now. And as long as structure holds, it's bullish for now, right? But a bear flag turns into a bear flag and stays a bear flag until it's invalidated. And it has not been invalidated. It has followed this bear flag to a T. So for me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, break bear flag structure, break the 4. Once you break the 4, you've now invalidated the structure, and now they're going to look to come back and fill the wick and then take off again. That's why I think this structure has a stronger narrative. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, the higher low has a stronger narrative than the lower move, right? The lower move, something catastrophic has to happen while price is pushing to here. So how long would this lower move stay in play if that were to happen? Anybody?
Until something good happens. I don't know. I'm a little confused, maybe.
Here, I'll show you. How long did this stay in play when they pulled back?
Like 2 weeks.
2
2
weeks.
weeks ago.
So if you didn't pull the trigger within 2 weeks of this pullback, you weren't getting this price. Wasn't going to happen. You had to buy right back where everybody else was buying originally. So I see the same thing over here. If we were to see this move lower, might be for a week or two. That's how much time you'll have for opportunity for entries. And more than likely, you won't catch this, right? More than likely, it'll hold somewhere above here. It'll come down into here, pull back up really quick after it hits liquidity, right? And then plays right here next to the previous price, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to go deeper. And then it starts rising, starts rising, starts rising. Bear flag, boom, starts rising, starts rising. These would be the two plays I would say. Now, keep in mind, this will not stay there for long if it did go deeper. And that's why I mean, like, you need some very bearish news to happen at the low here, because it would push price into this zone and probably push it a little bit deeper just to scare out the last bit of retail that was left there. If price were to go deeper. So.
Sell your house.
Good.
Sell your house, sell your kidney.
Yeah. At that point, Michael Saylor would have been right. But at this point, Michael Saylor was completely offsides of what he was saying. Like telling people to sell their house and sell their cars and take the bus to work and everything else and buy Bitcoin up here. The biggest LARP I've ever seen, right? I would take some serious positions here, right? I would probably sell some of my stocks that I have that are well in the green that I think are long-term great plays, and I would probably reposition them on the crypto side if that were to happen. So this is my thoughts overall, right? You got your high thought, you got your low thought, right? That's basically if we can form a lower low.
Here, Will, at the current number 4 right now, where the price is, the volume has really dropped. So
it has. Yep. And if you look here, the entire run, what has been happening here? What's been happening?
lower highs.
Lower highs. That means volume is dropping, not going up. And this is where a lot of bears are getting cut off sides, right? They're not understanding. They're like, hey, everything's saying down. Why is it continuing up? It's continuing up because the structure is still working. The down is just, look, before every move up, there's always a move down. If we were to come over here and just kind of, here, actually, we won't even do that. We'll just do one of these. We'll do a replay. And I'll explain this to you guys better. So we're actually going to come back to before we fell over. All right. So everybody over here is talking about how we're going to go higher, 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 leg down, leg up. RSI was saying what? What was RSI saying?
Negative divergence.
Saying bearish div, right? We had the drop down, rise up. This is an ABC pattern. It's basically indicating we're about to fall over. While everybody else was expecting this to move and they were like, oh, it's just a reset on the RSI. No, it's not. Because if it was a reset on the RSI, price would match the RSI, especially on higher time frames. But it wasn't. It was indicating resistance, right? Market then followed through that resistance. And as you can see there, what did it do right there on the RSI? What did it do? It fell off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rejected right off the RSI and dropped straight down. What's going on with price? What's price doing? It's following suit. What's going on with volume? What's volume doing? It's dropping, right? It's dropping. Now, if you look here, volume here is what? Practically what?
Non-existent.
Practically non-existent, right? Anytime a market's looking to reverse, it does one of two things. It does a big spike into a drop. That's what we call a capitulation, right? Capitulation move. And then now your spikes are going to get what? Lower, right? But price is going what? Where's price going?
Higher.
It's going higher. Why? Because this was the capitulation. Now price only has one direction to go. All your sellers are out. All your sellers are out. That's exactly what happened at the low of Bitcoin. All the sellers were out. Every one of them. There was nobody else willing to sell at that point. They're all out of the game. And I'll show you that capitulation. So once you get that capitulation of sellout, and this is where a lot of bulls are way outsides with the whole, oh, we're gonna break out, because they're seeing this too, and they're like, oh, yeah, look at this. This is what occurred right here. So this is where the breakout occurred. No. That's not what's happening right now. But I'll explain that part in a minute. So right here, what do we see with volume? What are we seeing right here? What do we see right there?
Interest.
Massive interest. How are we telling there's massive interest? What's going on with volume? Is it up and down spiky?
It's
what's it doing?
ramping up. It's
It's
like
ramping
angling.
up
Yeah.
all together, right? And then where do we know that interest starts to fall off? Right there. Right there.
It's
So-
kind of even going down, I guess.
Yep.
Kind of.
Yeah, this is people selling into the buying pressure, right? So whenever you get drop of volume at the low, it's reversal. Whenever you get drop of volume at the high, it's reversal. Do you guys see what I mean there? So volume peaks at a certain point and it reverses off of that peak. So if you're at the low, basically from a peak volume position, and you start dropping, you're going to start rising. If you're at the high, right, and you start dropping, you're going to start dropping with the market. And that's exactly what happened here, right? So we're basically at the high and we're dropping volume. So then volume falls off. Then we get what? What happens here? What kind of candle is this?
Capitulation.
It's a capitulation candle. Look at the mass move here. Look. What happens to the next candle right here? Is it higher or lower? It's lower, right? So volume's dropping, price is dropping. What are we looking for? Reversal. That's what we're looking for. What happens? Reversal. But volume over here is practically dead. Right? No volume at all. And this is why I told people, I was like, look, I don't think this thing's real. Because there's no indication here of volume following price. Price is just floating to the upside. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? If volume is low and price continues up, what does that tell you?
Manipulation. But I don't get it though.
Nope, not manipulation.
Oh,
Not enough sellers.
Sellers have stopped selling. And it tells you that passive inflows, which is just people like probably buy $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month. Passive inflows are outweighing selling pressure. How do we know it's passive inflows? Look at volume. Is there any erraticness in volume? No. It's practically dead over here. So because it's dead, eventually the sellers will weigh back in. Why? Why would the sellers weigh back in? Because price is back at premium. Volume has lost its interest. So market participants up here are not stupid. They're like, we don't have the ramp up in volume. We don't have the interest up here. We need to get out. Second chance to get out. Boom. And they get it higher. Premium pricing. Price then rolls off. Continues through. Now, look where we're at on the RSI, right? So what do you got to do once you start getting to the bottom? You got to start pushing price back up to reset the RSI. Which is precisely what happened there. Now, what you're seeing here is what's going on with volume. What's going on with volume? Still dropping. Look, you've got even lower moves here. Now, what do you notice right here? You guys see that? That's a little bit of capitulation right there. So what do you think is going to happen with price? It holds. Now we just push through. Now look, what are we seeing happening right here? What are we seeing?
People buying.
You're seeing capitulation. You're seeing somebody trying to catch the falling knife. How do we know that? Look. Where are they hitting? The same volume levels up here. So what does that tell you right here? I'm about to teach you guys markets.
You hit the bottom.
Nope.
well, I can see there's just as much action going on than
There you
you know.
go. You hit it, Erica. We can
I
call
did.
it action or we can call it participation, right? So the market is interested in price here. That's what that means. The market is as interested in price here as it was here, just by sheer volume. So what does that mean for price? Does that mean price is going to instantly reverse? Or does it mean you should start dialing into the market? Because if the market's interested, you should be interested. That's what I'm telling you. Now let's go ahead and continue to play. Oh, look at that. What do we see there? What happened to our volume?
Higher high.
Are people interested now?
Lots of people bought.
Lots of people bought here, right? So should we be looking for doom and gloom? Or should we start dialing in? Let's continue. Now, what do you see right here? Volume dropped again, right? Where did it drop to? It dropped below interest levels. Keep watching. Now, what are we seeing right here? Interest is picking back up. So what I'm trying to teach you guys here is how to use volume to know when there's interest. Now, what do we see right here? Right here. The same interest we saw here. Is price much different from here to here? Or are they buying across the low here? You guys see what they're doing here? You guys see what they're doing here, right? They literally bought the bottom of the move here, and then they bought the bottom of the move here. That's why you're seeing this spike here and a spike here. Now let's keep playing. Oh, look at that. What just happened? What just happened right there? 1, 2, 3. How many interest zones did they find here?
3.
1. Right here. I think it was right here. 2. So 2's right here. And then 3 is right here. They are more interested in price here than they were here. So does that mean you should be doom and gloom, or should you be buying? Let's keep going. Now, do you notice anything right here? What do you notice? Right in here, what do you notice? Where's volume?
Descending.
Falling off a cliff. Can volume get any lower? Not really. Volume can't get any lower, right? So we need activity. That's what markets drive off. Markets drive off of activity, right? So if we can't get activity by driving deeper, which direction can we go to get activity? Higher.
Higher. Up.
And that's where price goes. Now, what do we notice here?
More interest.
We hit our high end interest zone. Keep
Was that
watching.
like a FOMO? People started FOMOing kind of.
Oh, people bought the top of that thing. Watch. Keep watching. Now, what do we notice right here? What do we notice right here? Volume's dropping off again, right? So what's going to occur here if volume's dropping off again? Consolidation. Because we had to we were piquing people's interest this way, right? Now, which way are we piquing people's interest? To the upside. Keep watching. Now, if you noticed here, they held a little bit higher than here. See that? This is them building. Now, what interest zone do they hit again to take profit? Right here. Right here. Not here, right here. So what that tells me is that this market maker, whoever, whatever, probably made some entries around here and was heavily in the red here. So they needed to get liquidity. So now we're driving to the upside. We're keeping these higher positions. We're keeping interest. And now we see green, 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 green across the board. Consolidating, consolidating. And we are here now, right? We are consolidated here now. Where is volume?
Volume is dead.
Volume's dead. So where are we expecting volume to go? Right back up to our peak interest zone. So if you want to sell the top of the next move, watch this area. on volume. If you look there, it's pretty much an identical move, volume for volume. Look at that. Same amount of buyers, same amount of sellers. And if you look, both moves occurred in both pushes. And they both peaked at the same high, aka impulse moves. You guys understanding this better now?
Should we be concerned that the volume's lower on this possible impulse move than the previous two?
Well, that just means that your 5 is going to turn in your ABC. That's what it means. Because look, your volume was building here, but where's your volume now? It's going to spike off these lows. That means your volume was down here, going down on the lower end of volume, right? Not the high end of vol. On the lower end of vol, you were at the low zones, which means that you're kind of like where you were right here, right? So either this thing tops out here, or this thing's getting ready to freaking go. You can look at this from two different ways. I don't think it's getting ready to go. I think it's going to reset. The move's going to reset back to lows. So since I'm positioned for the reset back to the lows, I'm expecting one more spike volume high, and that will complete my wave. And then from there, ABC down. And you could use the same method in anything, guys. Like, it's not when you get these big moves, like here, let's try and pull a Palantir, for instance. This one had a massive move. Let's see. It's over here. Yeah, here's PLTR. So if you look, same thing over here. What do we notice about this zone? Oh my gosh, this thing's gonna act crazy. Hold on. I'm gonna just have to close some of these. Hopefully this fixes it. I don't know why it does like the 50. Like, I have the highest package. I don't understand what's going on with this, but if I close like 20 of these or something, it'll stop doing this. TRP, PEP. I do want to keep CRC open though. I don't know where I got that one at. Keep that gas. VLO we can drop. There we go. CRC. This one I'm looking to catch. Look at this thing. Look at this gap. Like, I'm fully expecting that to fill. We'll get to that though here in a minute. We'll get to stocks in a second. So let's go with PLTR. So if you look at price at where it is, this thing's gonna, okay. We're gonna close that. I had Pulse up too because somebody asked about it. Like, this is, man, like, look, it's just too new. I had somebody ask me about that. Like, there's no way to chart that out. Oh, let's see. I think I got PLTR on here somewheres. I had it somewhere, so let's just put it on the YouTube one because that's the easier one. Oh yeah, I had it on there. Cool.
The sacrifice price for that one is like, yes, a 0.2 zeros and 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
I don't think it's I don't think it looks good at all. I'll be real. The chart. If we look at this on the weekly, let me find it. This is kind of like your spike zone, right? So like, this is your upper range of interest. Now look, it's freaking beautiful, man. Look at this. Boom, upper range of interest, extreme overly bought, right? Anytime you've reached this zone, you're just done. And that's exactly what happened. Upper zone of interest, spike above, price came down, boom, came back up to upper zone of interest, right here at the lows, came back down, volume died, and then we haven't retouched the upper zone of interest, so we're going to continue down, and now we came back up, and where did we spike at? Where did we spike at? Right here, right here. Where did it touch at? It touched the interest zone, right? Where price likes to maintain that interest zone. So anytime you're below this, I would say you're bearish. Anytime you're touching it or coming above it, you're bullish. But anytime you exceed it, you're overly bullish and you're probably going to sell off when it comes to PLTR. And this is just how the market's been with this one. But we have seen here a lot of interest in this stock, right? We've got 1, 2, 3 drives to the high. Now we can see vol is dropping, which means we're probably looking to maybe do one more push, consolidate, right? Volume drops. And on that next drop, you're looking to move out again in volume and price, right? That would be the expectation here. This is only for me what I would consider leg 1 of this overall move. A lot of people are fading this. A lot of people that are big in Palantir are fading this also, saying it moved too fast. It doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because either you get a retrace or you get a long consolidation. Those are the two scenarios that can always play out. A long consolidation is the same as a retrace back down to recapture your price. It's just a level consolidation, level consolidation, level consolidation. That's still healthy. So to come in and say that price has moved too fast in Palantir, yeah, it could have, right? Did price move too fast to the downside for Palantir? Yeah. Did price move too fast to the upside for Palantir here? Possibly, right? But if it's doing one of these moves, still got a ways to go. Look at this move right here. You're talking basically, a move that pushed Palantir all the way up 266%. And then on top of that, it went an additional, right, after it consolidated, it went an additional 87%. It's like a 4x from here. If you look at where it's sitting at right now, it's only done 91%. Like, if this thing's going to do anything close to what it did here, which is where it was really bullish, which is what it's looking like right now, it actually looks more bullish than it did over here, then, it's going to continue through. Like, this move is not done. So, and this was exactly what I meant when I told people to look at small caps and mid caps. Don't ignore them, especially in stocks, because I knew the rotation. I just knew the freaking rotation they were going to do, because if you've got, basically hedge funds and stuff like that, if they've been sidelined the whole year, they have to play catch up. Their portfolios look like shit right now because they've been super defensive. So if they've been super defensive, guess what? They gotta play high beta. What's high beta? Low caps, mid caps, right? What is PLTR? It's a low cap, mid cap. Same thing with Rivian, same thing with Lucid. All these are low cap, mid caps. They are not mega tech. So because they're not mega tech, it means it takes less money to make money in them. So they go into these to catch up to the rest of the portfolio managers that have been playing things like NVIDIA and Google and stuff like that don't have multiples. Like, those stocks will get you 100%, but like, that's probably where it's going to stop. And then whereas these ones right here can do 2, 3, 4x and exceed those stocks returns that these people. So people have been sitting in NVIDIA all year long for like 120%, an entire year for 120%. Like Palantir, I'll probably be at 120% in like a matter of months. And this is why I told you guys, like before, I was like, I have no problem with sidelining, sitting sideline, because I can always find a way to catch up to the market if I'm offsides. This is why, like, I wasn't worried about being bearish when I was bearish, because I can always find that high beta play where I can catch up my portfolio to what I've lost or where the market's moved. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Like, these type of moves, though, guys, like, look, if your thing is not sitting here looking at charts all day, then when you're at positions where you are with the market, right? Not after something's made a major move like this, but like if you're at positions where you are with the market, start looking at high beta plays. Look at things like coming over here to Rivian, right? I tell you guys this on a daily basis. Looks great. I think it wants to break out. You've got just a massive bullish div on this entire drop, right? You got price dropping, you've got strength rising. This means that interest is coming up for Rivian. You have a lot of interest in this stock, and I think a lot of people are fading it for no freaking reason. And if you look at it across the board, you're in that low beta zone. Look at it. This is where Rivian tends to shine, where it gets its big breakout moves, right? Boom. Look at that. And you come over here, drop down, big breakout move, boom, right here at the lows. Over here, you had the big move out, right? And then you had the big sell-off right here. And the sell-off didn't even bring it like below the breakout. And you just got that massive capitulation candle. You come over here, you look at this breakout, you look at this breakout, you look at this breakout. I mean, that's still a breakout, right? And then you've got even more move right here, where this is just a capitulation, in my opinion. Look at the size of this candle. This is the same capitulation that occurred up here. And now you're kind of moving into a point where you're kind of coiling, right? And you're looking to move, and it just moved off of that really hard. And we're still low volume.
I feel
Imagine
like
what,
Rivian, oh, sorry about that. I feel like
Yeah.
Rivian's been giving some really good entries to.
yeah, amazing entries. Amazing entries. Like this is the price zone that everybody is ignoring. And I'm telling that I've been screaming at people, man, like, look at the chart, man. Like it is there. Like, even if you're a big crypto bull, like these are good positions to be taking for long-term portfolios, man. Like, look at this. It is a consolidation low on an ascending wedge on a building long structure of strength. Like this is a foundation of just beautifulness, man. I love it. Like this is a great chart. And this isn't me being like all like Rivian, like some kind of like cultist or anything like that. It's just the chart looks amazing, guys. Like you got to understand this from a chart perspective. This is one of the best looking charts I've seen. Period. I was looking at Rumble the other day. I didn't really see a lot going on with this, other than what do we see here? Consolidation, right? Price can remain trapped here, but like I think Rumble, sorry, I think Rumble is in that period of consolidation below previous price. Like this is all resistance for it right now, and it's kind of at these lower moves, but we are building strength also on this one, right? If you're interested in that stock, Hex, I don't know, man. Like I thought there might be entries here, but like this thing looks like it's dying. Not gonna lie. Like that's a big sell off, and like look at these, look at the volume here. Look at the volume here. This thing's either going to zero or like this is an optimal entry position.
A lot of people are basically bridging the Ethereum hex into Pulse chain and selling over there. So I don't know. Maybe that's why there's less volume on ETH now.
I mean, it sounds like a exploitable move. I'm gonna have to dig into it because you probably could exploit this, right? You just got continually ramping volume, and now you kind of like really pico moved off of the volume positions, right? Actually, that looks really good right there. So like this could be the pico bottom for this move, man. Like I'm sure he's not gonna let the east side sell out like that. It just doesn't make any logical sense to do that, even if he's like all about pulse chain. If you look right here, like that's your trend right there. You are hitting that trend. So I might pick up like a small bag here because like to get into something like this, for instance, like on the east side, right? It's all air and opportunity at the end of the day. And obviously it depends on your portfolio size. If you only got $1,000-$1,200 to invest, you wouldn't want to throw $100 at this. But if you have a significant more amount to invest, I mean, $100 might be worth the risk for something like this, right? Because if this thing actually turned around and did well, you've got exponentials for upside. You can really move off of that. I mean, you're sitting at what? Basically 22 cents at the high, and currently you're sitting at 1 cent here. That's a 22x move. But you know, it's all up to you at the end of the day. I'm not too vested with Hex. I think there are charts that show that thing could go deeper, but with the one I have there, it looks all right. SMH, man, I know a lot of people that were short SMH. I'm sure they lost all their money. You were short this thing, man. This thing just literally blew your face off. But, big but, this could turn into an M. Right? Could turn into an M. So maybe a little bit higher. And that's why I'm questionable about some of the market because it does not look good. And then, a recovery of the entire move back down to the low. Because you do have this area of liquidity right here. This wick that just screaming, come back and fill me. And so this is a questionable move, and this is on a higher time frame monthly. So like this could very well happen. So keep this in mind. I'm gonna probably throw out some alarms on here. Probably right up here at the high to see if it tries to exceed it or if it tries to resist it. Because if it resists up here, this is an M all day. So gotta watch this one. SMH, semiconductors. Zoom still holding. I gave you guys the most optimal entry possible, I think. 6142 was my entry position. A lot of people faded it. They're like, oh no, it's gonna probably go deeper. Look, this is inception. This is where we are now. Where are we at? We're at inception pricing. Should you be looking for lower?
No, you're already at the
No.
floor.
You're at the floor. Like, what do you want? What do you want? Right? That's the real question here. What do you want? You can expect lower. It can go lower, but like I would take it like this. Look,
I've never been more excited about some stocks than ever.
You see that? You see, like these are great entries, guys. Like, I know you have to sit in them. I know some of you want fast money, but that's not the way, man. Like you gotta understand these are opportunities. Like, people are like, look at my stock portfolio. I only put 50,000 and now I got, 10 million. This is those people. And it took them 5-10 years to do that. Like this is that 5 to 10 year portfolio that can hedge your crypto portfolio. What happens if you come into crypto with all your money and you mess up? And what I mean by mess up is like you hold it to the lows again. Did you really gain anything? More than likely
No.
not, right? You might be a little bit up on your position, but you're probably going to be at the same position you would have been in the stock market. If not, the stock market doing better than the crypto and the bear, right? So always hedge your positions. If I got 10K, I might allocate 60 to 70% to stocks. And then, I can split up the rest however I went through crypto and other assets. But like you want to hedge that. This is something that more than likely is not going out of business, right? And it is something that you can look at your portfolio day by day. You might get some volatility, but it will be there. It's not going to be one day you go and you look at Grumpy Cat and all of a sudden the liquidity is pulled. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the difference between what we are dabbling in crypto and what you can really put your money where your mouth is. And a good portfolio is a great position to have, even as a younger person. Like if you're younger, man, you should be even more bullish on freaking stocks, man. I know some of you are like, I need the fast money. Look, the fast money can come. It can also go. And I'll tell you this, if you got a lot of money or a decent amount of money, and it could be 5,000, it could be 10,000, it could be 2,000. Like if you split that up appropriately, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You're young, right? Going in with all your eggs in one basket and losing it, and then coming in again and thinking you're going to make it back and then possibly losing it again, where have you gotten yourself? Nowhere, right? I'm telling you from an older experienced guy, like you need to be hedging on both sides of this play. You need to be taking these are once in a lifetime opportunities, I think, and I think you guys should be looking at them regardless of where the market goes. I'm not trying to get you guys bulled up on Zoom specifically. I'm just trying to tell you guys like, hey, there's air and opportunity out there. Just, all you got to do is pull the trigger, buy the positions, hold them, and then wait for them to play out. I can bet you Zoom. I won't say bet you, but I'm pretty confident Zoom will probably be back at all-time highs within the next 5-10 years, if not higher, right? And from there, you're looking at 2-3x easy, and it's something you could sit on and go to sleep at night and not have to worry about liquidity being pulled. Roblox, again, building strength, building high. This is kind of an ideal position, to be honest with you. It's kind of like a
Well, sorry, can I
pennant.
ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Just regarding Zoom, how do you think it'll be back to all-time highs without a pandemic or like COVID, which
I think
made basically
I think people are so wrong on that. I think they're so wrong. How did it exist before a pandemic? Was Zoom born
like
in a pandemic?
Plus,
I
it's,
never heard
it's
of
the
it
new way
before.
of life. It's the new way of life.
Do you know a business that doesn't use Zoom?
No, it's definitely taken over, but I mean the all-time high is when no one was able to kind of go out. So I just kind of wanted to see, like, I'm sure that basically pushed it to the all-time high. If we don't see another pandemic or a situation where people can't go out again, like how do you see it going back to like such highs? Just basically like meetings and stuff like that.
Here, let me ask you this. So I'm going to rebuttal your question with a question. All right.
Sure.
How do you see NVIDIA being valued at this?
How do I see it? I'm not sure. I mean, it's just
Do they do
basically
anything different than they've done since 99, 2000?
there was one kind of there is one kind of thing that they're doing right now. I think
What's that?
something to do with gaming or AI or something like that. I'm not
I mean,
positive, but I
everybody
know
says the
there's
word
some
AI.
catalyst right now.
Everybody says the word AI. What do they do fundamentally that's any different than they've done in the past?
The newest
I
thing
couldn't
of
I
was
couldn't answer that.
they got those chips that make it look like your eye is looking at the screen while you're looking and reading a script. It's like the most crazy thing they've done.
So what I'm saying is
I
NVIDIA as a
think
whole.
we need them. Like, basically, they didn't really need to do much more. Is that we need more of their chips now.
I wouldn't say we need their chips. There's plenty of chip manufacturers out there. NVIDIA, their biggest sales go off their GPUs, right? I would very much argue that AMD has a comprehensive, if not equal, GPU manufactured. Now just think about that for a second. Then look at the valuation of NVIDIA and look at the valuation of AMD. And tell me why AMD is justified to be at this price. I would argue it's not. But what is the market saying? Well, let's look.
Nvidia all the way.
What did the market say right here at the highs? It says it is. A lot of people think too deep on valuations rather than understanding that the market can bid something regardless, right? Zoom is still innovating. Zoom is still progressing. Did you know that Zoom and Google and I believe it was AWS or something like that? No, Microsoft have a deal together?
No.
Now, how would you figure that out?
Figure out that they have a deal.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess the news.
Their website.
Their website. You can also look at what? Well, I can go to Google and I can just type in partners. Right? Now, why would I do that? Why would I go and look and see what Zoom's got going on and who they're partnering with, who they're working with?
Because it's a good price to buy it.
There
And
you
hope for
go.
it to go back
There
up.
you go. Because I'm looking for a reason why their valuations would be higher. Right? And I'm looking at it on the floor and I'm like, hey, Google Meets and Zoom are working on interoperability. What is the only competition for Zoom?
Is this
Google
Skype?
Meets. Google
Meet?
Meets. Skype's nothing. Nobody uses
Yeah.
Skype.
Right.
They only use these two platforms. So if they're partnered together, who's got a monopoly here?
I
That's
see.
what you got to ask yourself. This is something that I try to teach you guys is like think outside the box. Don't necessarily think too deep on like, oh well, COVID is not look, COVID was the reason for the valuation of where Nvidia was in the first place. And where are we at right now? We're right back at the same spot. Think about it. Because look, what happened with COVID? What did Nvidia do?
Tip.
It sold, right? Sold hard. And then what did it do out of COVID? Was that a fair valuation or was that related to COVID? You know what I would argue this was? I would argue the market saw a dip. The market did what? Panic bought. Then the market saw a dip. Then the market did what? Panic bought. And the market will probably see a dip again. And then the market will do what? It'll panic buy. You're going to see the same thing with Zoom. You're going to see the same thing with Rivian. You're going to see the same thing with Lucid. And that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to teach you guys like, hey, you got to understand the move. But look, this move, what did it signal over here when we had that kind of move? What did it signal? Did we do that kind of move here when we broke all-time high here? No. We gradually worked our way out. And then gradually worked our way out. And then FOMO high pushed at the what? At the Pico top. So we dropped down. We gradually worked our way out. And what are we doing right now? FOMO high push.
So are you saying that Zoom doesn't necessarily have to be used as much as it was used during COVID to reach that all-time high?
Correct. Although I think it will be. That's the other side of the coin too, right? They do other things. Zoom is not just a platform because everybody's locked down. Because here's the thing. Were you and your neighbor Zooming each other?
No, but I did Zoom like there was a few things I never did it before. I think it was a doctor. Like there's a few things I can't remember what it was, but I
Okay.
definitely Zoomed. I
Schools
Zoomed like
are used.
All right. So
yeah, school definitely.
if you go to the doctor's office right now, does your doctor still offer you Zoom meetings?
I'm not sure to be honest, but I could
Mine
see it.
does.
Yes.
Yeah, mine
I'll tell you
does.
mine
They
does.
offer. Yes.
My daughter's school does. They still do it a lot.
So
Yeah, school is definitely a big one. My daughter was on Zoom the whole time.
okay. Schools were on Zoom. Are schools not still on Zoom?
They
Not nearly
are.
as much, I don't think.
I would say they are. I'd say they use it as much as they did then. You're talking about one Zoom meeting for the entire class,
Right.
right? And that Zoom meeting's being paid for by the school, not the student. So that's one subscription. So even though it may have appeared that Zoom was being utilized more, it was probably being utilized the same. It never changed. You see what I'm saying? Like you can still Zoom your doctor now, just like you could then. You weren't Zooming.
Like everybody still has their subscription. Kinda.
Correct. Everybody still, nobody dropped subscriptions necessarily with Zoom after COVID. They actually liked the model of being able to Zoom people. I think doctors really liked it because I could tell you most local doctors, if you go there to their office, they offer it. And it makes it more convenient for them because why? Because they haven't got a waiting room full of people, right? Waiting to be seen for a cut on their knee. Or waiting to be seen because they got a cold. The doctor can simply look at you through the Zoom, say, okay, this is what I think you have. Here's the medicine. I'll send it over to the pharmacy. Just go pick it up.
Well, the way
That's it.
commercial real estate's looking, business hasn't dropped off at all. The business, world side hasn't dropped off at all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to like. Don't view things from the lens of it's up because of COVID. View things from the lens like this had value before COVID and still has value after COVID if people are using it. Now, the only place I would argue that, and I would agree with you on if you were to tell me, hey, this mask company, a company that made masks for COVID, might go back to all-time high. I would be like, that may take a while, right? Because masks aren't being used as much. That I would agree with you on. But when you look at it from the side of a Zoom, I think Zoom is utilized just as much as it was before. And you also have to look at it like this, and you can find the statistics on it. I'll try and find them later and post it. But year by year, I'd say in the US, you get more and more entrepreneurs, right? What is the biggest platform for most entrepreneurs? It's Zoom. How do most big, rich investment firms communicate? It's Zoom. Lawyers communicate with clients through Zoom. It's not traditionals like it was where you come into the lawyer office and you would sit there and wait in the waiting room and then the lawyer would see you. They just simply will talk to you over Zoom.
They're even holding like court cases over Zoom now.
Yep, court cases over Zoom. Almost all of them now. Like, yeah, you don't even have to go to court anymore unless it's like you're in jail, right? And it's held.
Actually,
We are
yeah,
today on a Zoom.
even the guys in jail don't go to court; they use Zoom too.
Yeah.
Nah, I definitely see your point, and I definitely bought some Zoom. I just wanted to hear because you said all-time high. I just had to hear what that was about. Does inflation have anything to do with? Is that key in anywhere to you
I mean,
saying that?
inflation keys in all stocks,
Mm.
right? That's why stocks go up. Is
Right.
due to inflation. So that's how inflation works. It's just inflation's come to a point now where it's kind of like at a standstill. It's kind of like a do or die situation. I think inflation continues to come down and eventually goes away. The other scenario that I'm looking at is the uninversion of the yield curve. That's my only biggest red flag, but that's like literally years down the road. It hasn't uninverted yet. So once it uninverts, and you basically got like a year to a year and a half before you get the big fallout, and that's atypical across the board. It's always been that way. But until then, we could play the moves as they are and just take it for upside. I mean, that thing, the big fallout could be significantly higher than where we are. We just have to see how that plays out. We got to look at where we're at in the charts when that uninversion happens, and look at where price can kind of go within the next year. And then from there, we got to be like, all right, we haven't really gone far, and we're still sitting here where we were, or we've gone significantly further. It makes sense for that uninversion recession play to play out, and for the market to pretty much completely pull back, and they say it's on a recession, and then all of a sudden we end up in the same scenario where we ended up here, where you just get that V-shaped move out, right? Nvidia really astonished me, really astonishing, man. Looking at a move like that, typically once you breach an all-time high like this, you got some consolidation and you'll continue. It's really crazy to look at this across the board. I think Facebook is far beyond gone. If you're looking to buy into this, I wouldn't even be interested. I'll just look for some other high beta play. It's just like spying the other ones. I have no real interest in any of those. But like if you look into something like AMD is a solid stock too. Like if you're looking to compete with something like Nvidia, this is where I would go for that. And look, it moved off it the same way, but it's still far from all-time high, right? So an opportunity there. We may consolidate here, but yeah, it's funny how AMD pretty much did the same thing. And if you look here, AMD had its fall, had its breakout move. A lot of people ignored it, and then it just fell back again. And then now it's mooning. It's just going and going and going. Now, arguably, I would say Amazon's in a similar situation over here. So if we go into Amazon, I thought I had open, maybe I closed it. And Amazon, a lot of people are going to miss this move. If you want to own Amazon, now is your time. Like, I would not ignore it. Let me find it real quick here. So you can see right here, look, it's just starting, right? That's its downtrend. It just broke out. It hit my high exactly where I said it would hit. Oh my gosh, to a T. And now it's going to probably do a rip move. Push through here, all the way back up to here. So if you want to own Amazon, this is your opportunity. if you want to get in, right? It's probably going to roll to 148 and then probably pull back a little bit, maybe consolidate in this zone. And then, once it gets up here to like 184, there's no point even buying anymore. You're back at all-time high. Like you got to look for the opportunity where it's at. Look at Adobe. Literally consolidated and just ripped, man. Nobody saw this one coming. I didn't even see that one coming. That's pretty crazy. That's a big move. But you notice how all these are hitting my resistances? Like, these are resistances I had here since this thing started falling, and vice versa, right? And you can see the reason I picked this one is these supports over here, which is basically where they came back to hit. So,
Sorry, Will, what did you say you think Amazon's gonna hit?
I think like 148, and then has potential to definitely run higher than that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Here's the Altura move. Where's Altura sitting? Sitting right on top of liquidity, right? Right on top of the wick. So Altura, like, this could very well be another boom. And I told you guys about this. Like, look, when I was talking about Altura and I told you guys to buy, we're talking like in these price ranges. And you can see right here, vol drop, right? Vol drop. You also see overextended on the RSI. And we're seeing what? We're seeing cooldown on the stochastic. So it can come down still, probably back into this lower price range. But this is one I would not ignore if it did that, like right back into there. So I think this thing has a lot of interest. Nobody's talking about it, and I think it will do really well in the bull. Personally, really good platform too. Let me see AC. Oh, that looks really good. What the heck? I like that. That's a very controlled move. I like controlled moves. If you look here, it's at the lows. You basically got your high and your low. You kind of violated up here a little bit, but like that's kind of your move right there. So something. Oh, no, you didn't. Look. There we go. That's better. That's your move right there for this one. Auto Canada Inc. Huh. I'm about to look into that. And your RSI is like all the way here at the lows. And if you look here too, you've actually formed kind of a higher move here. I'm about to look into this, see if I can get into it in the US. So you had your big dip over here. And you're actually sitting higher over here, and you're kind of in the same price area, right? Like this was your low move, and you're basically higher strength over here. So I do like that. That looks really good. I would say arguably, bullish div. Oh yeah, easy bullish div. Look, price drop. What's price doing right here? Price is dropping, strength is rising. Easy bullish div here. I would play the low here, at least to the high, and then kind of see where it goes from there. And if it breaks out, then you can continue to hold. But this one looks really good. Oh, let's see. What else I have here? AO Aurora. See this dead. APT. Aptos. I like Aptos here. Look at vol. Pretty much no volume. Nobody's talking about it. Usually be a reversal move back up. So you got your swing high, your drag low, another pump, drag low, another pump, and then people start buying up in here, right? And where are they going to buy? They're going to buy the second price breaks above all time. That's where everybody will start buying. This looks really good though, because you can see it right here too. Look, vol dropped, and then what happened to price? Boom, right? Vol's dropping, and we're at a higher low. You're looking for a big breakout, in my opinion. I think this looks really freaking solid. ARB, again, vol drop. See it? Vol drop. You're basically kind of like at a lower low position here, but you're kind of holding support here at the lows. and you got a vol drop here. So this is something to keep an eye on too. Take it on a list. All top time frame. Let's get something. I like this. I like this. I was expecting honestly a breakout here, but it didn't occur. It broke down, came back down to the lows, but you got that massive vol drop. And look, you've got strength building with price. So this is a healthy move. This is a healthy move. This is not erratic, no bull divs, but you got strength building with price. You're trying to get above the 50 here, and then if you can get above the 50, you can go from here. So there were some opportunities to get some really low pricing here. I don't think a lot of people took the opportunity, probably just market makers. But that one looked really good. ARC Resources.
Sorry, ARB's a good buy right now.
I mean, in its range, yeah, I would say it's a relatively good buy if you're interested in ARB. I already bought a lot of this, so around $1, but yeah,
It's
I
good
think
long term.
yeah, it basically went down to $1 on C, but might have got it like
112 was good.
Yeah, 112 was really good. Yeah, that was the ideal spot, man. I think so many people miss 112. 112 was really good. There's definitely accumulation going on there too. ARKK, this is another high beta I would watch, man. Like this one looks really freaking good. Like if you look at the high time frame capitulation move on ARKK, like it capitulated a while ago. You know, now it's just continuing to drive low and look at strength here. Like strength's just continuing to drive against that price drop. I could definitely see this thing swinging really high, probably up here to 54 and 39. So like this thing is something that, you know, I'm actively looking to get positioned into. Activision Blizzard, this is another one too. Oh no. Don't tell me I already missed it. No, we're good. We're good. Monthly.
Look at that gap.
Yeah, it had a nasty gap over there. Look at that. Like I was expecting what I was looking for is I'm trying to get some buys in here on Activision Blizzard. It looks very toppy, to be honest with you. Like it just doesn't look like, but it could also be looking to break out from here. Like this thing, it's had like a cap on it for a while. If you look at it like something like this, it's been a very controlled price movement. Fell back from it, so on and so forth. But like we could even take it like kind of like this. That looks better.
Isn't that the company that Microsoft trying to buy?
Yep. And then the second they got told they couldn't, this thing fell off hard, right? And now it's trying to continue through. Ooh, that might not be good. Could we go into 0?
Luna.
Yeah, it looks like a Luna play all day. Just getting tighter and tighter until interest actually wins off. Yeah, I might not be buying that actually. Not look good. I'm gonna take risks like that. I'm gonna do it in crypto. This one right here, like, oh, you can see from volume, this thing's just like dead in the water, man. Aurora, like it hasn't had a bid in a while. It might be something to throw some money at. Like it had a lot of interest over here, but like now all the interest is gone. It bled out of it. I might look at this. I want to see that. Yeah, vol drop. Yeah, could be looking for a pop here. Look, you got that big vol drop here. You kind of roll on the floor. Like I'm gonna look into this one. I haven't actually. Let me see what this is real quick. Hold on 1 second. I haven't actually looked into that. I have it on my list, but AUROR. Why do I have this? What is this one on? Tether on Huobi. Is that what this one is, Huobi?
They have it on Coinbase too.
Is it the AOA? Do you know what the ticker is?
It spells it
I want
out.
to say it's AOA, but I'm not sure.
There's a couple of them. That's why I'll look into it later. But I like the ball drop here. Basically, the dead looking activity because typically market makers like to move on this. Then they make up narratives on the why you should buy. Integration on hold. Currently, we don't support this integration. We cannot guarantee the stability of the. Okay. So there's something going on with this. Let's wait on that. That's probably why Vol's dead. AVAX. And we did have the bullish diff here played. That's what you got, that massive pickup. Look, drop in price, rise in strength, massive move, rolling back down. Now, RSI is completely reset, so technically this could come back down and hit this bottom another time, but you've got 1, 2, that's a double bottom. And the reality is you could catch a triple, but like I would probably be looking here if I were interested in this. Probably right where it's at right now. Because you got the low right here, you got the low right here, you got the low right here, and this would just simply be another retest here. Now you do have an M formation here, so it could come back down here. So if you just took a partial entry here and then a lower entry here, if it came into that zone, that's what I'd be looking at. Baba. This thing looks kind of bad, not gonna lie. Oh, you did have the bullish div here. That's what the big run up was here. Now that's cooling back down. You could be finding support here. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Apparently, I already had everything drawn out, but let's go into the monthly, see what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah, I could see it kind of hanging out here. The interest here is actually higher than where it was on open. So that's pretty crazy. Somebody's dialing in their bags pretty big. You got the vol drop. You're kind of in that price zone to where you'll see a lot of activity. So this is kind of like your activity zone, lower vol zones. But you've had a rise in time, right? So this is one to kind of keep an eye on. I don't think people should sleep in Alibaba, man. I really don't. I know a lot of people probably are, but it's like you guys are there still, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I said something about the internet. I don't know what's going on there.
In Alibaba, not the one where the CEO just kind of disappeared from when the Chinese government was looking for him.
Yeah, I think he's back now. I think he got in trouble with China and like they like reprimanded him and now he's good.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, this one looks pretty crazy. Ball. It's just Ball Corporation. This thing could be looking for another big boom. The way price is rising and volumes dropping. Like you could be looking for like one of these events to happen or something like that later on. But there's been a lot of interest in this one. BBBY. I got in on this play. So I'm expecting them to come back and like run this thing back up. Now, where would I be looking for price to come back to? What is this called? What is this called?
A fallen knife?
A fallen knife. What else is it called? What?
Capitulation.
Capitulation. Everybody capitulated, dropped their bags. And all your dumb money sold the lows. Now, what do you think is going to happen from that? Now, you know what the funny part is? Once we get back up to here, what is all the news stations? What are they going to say?
Bed Bath and Beyond is back on the rise.
Best thing out there, better than Walmart, better products. They build with high quality this, high quality that. This is why you need to buy there. Look at their stock. It's so strong. Earnings are great. Yada, 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 yada. All the BS.
Aren't they officially closed though? Like, didn't they
Nope.
actually close everything? They're still hanging on.
Yep. Do you know how
I
they're
don't see
hanging
any
on?
reason for it to even do that, what you drew. I don't even see why it would do that.
Never do. I never do either. Believe me. You know how many bank stocks We're in that same scenario and now they're all back.
Is it not just another short squeeze?
That's all it is, man. That's all it ever is. What do you think AMC was? What do you think GMC was?
Right. The same vein.
That's all it is. Just another freaking short squeeze that's gonna play. Look, you think this much money ran in here with no intentions?
That makes
That's all
so
I'm
much
saying.
sense. Cause they're like everyone you just named was like a dying business. GameStop, dying business. The theaters, dying business. And this Bed Bath and Beyond, dying business.
Yep. And what happened? People came in and bid them back up. That's the crazy part, right? Do I say it's logical? Do I think it's logical? No, I don't. But is it going to probably happen? More than likely. More than likely. Because what is this candle right here? See this big red candle? What is that? That's a capitulation candle. What has Vol been doing since that capitulation candle? Is it high down here? Is there a lot of volume here? No, there's a little bit of volume, but isn't that a massive green candle for there to be such little volume? I would argue yes. They came from basically look where the floor was. 5 cents. What's their current price? 28 cents. Somebody has intentions of pushing this thing back up again. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. On a higher time frame, I would target what? Support. Right? That brings BBBY back into the $4 zone from 28 cents. Go ahead and do the X's for me on that. That's all I'm saying. Like, expectations are there. The only thing there at the end of the day for me is air and opportunity.
That's a lot of comforter sets.
Yeah, I don't trust that one.
I don't know.
Like-
I'm not saying to trust it. I'm not saying that at all. But I can tell you a lot of people didn't trust AMC and a lot of people didn't trust GMC. And yeah. Now I want you to look at this. See this one right here? Big data tether. What do you see right here in the doji?
Volume.
Oh, yeah, I think that big old candle.
Look at that, huh? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Interest.
Interest. And did price move? Or was it kind of trapped?
Yeah, not much movement.
There's not much movement, right? Why? Sellers just got washed out. They washed
So what-
all the sellers out right there, now one candle. And then once they wash the sellers out, which way did price go?
Up.
That's all it is at the end of the day. Look for the big capitulation candles. That's 4,675%. Should you buy this now? Hell no. Why? Because it just did 4,675%. Why you shouldn't buy it now? There's a lot of people in a massive amount of profit. I'm just telling you how these moves play out. Over here, break wave, dry bulk shipping, back at the lows. But what are we noticing right here with Vol? With Vol, we're basically at peak interest. And where's price? Is price at the high or at the low? Price at the low. So if you're at peak interest at the low, what are you looking to do? Looking to reverse. BEP. Vol drop. Price drop. BEP looks okay. Now, is this something I would bid? No. Mm-mm. But everything's kind of lining up. Let's see. BRK. Oh, block. You can see I already got this one mapped out. Up only. No, I'm just joking. RSI low, vol dropping, catching a bid in a consolidation range. Block amplify transformational data share, ETF. I think that this thing is a buy in this area. Look. What do we notice from here to here on volume? Anybody?
It goes down.
From here to here?
Oh, it went up. Spike.
It went up, right? So what does that mean? That means there's more trading. That means there's more activity. That means there's more what?
Interest.
More interest. And where's the price? Where it
Bottom.
started. Where it started. Price is where it started, and it has significantly more interest in the same zone as where it started. Over here. Where's the downtrend? Are we under the downtrend? We're over it. So expectations are this thing's looking for a big breakout at some point. So what we got here. Coin. Let's look at coin real quick. And then we'll do a couple charts if you guys want. Talk about it, and then we'll go through it. What do we notice from here to here on vol?
A lot of interest.
A lot of interest. Are we at the low or are we at the high?
The lows.
We're at the lows. So we have a lot of interest here, and we're lower than where we were previously, right? So we had less interest here based on vol and more interest here. Now, does that mean we can't get more interest? Of course we can. That's why we always have to be careful, right? So as long as interest remains elevated, AKA in this uptrend, should you be looking to get an entry?
Yes.
Yeah.
You could, or you could wait for what? Vol to come back down and price to remain at price. That'll give you the optimal entry. Because we don't have a what in price here. What don't we have? We don't have a capitulation candle. We just have buyers and sellers trading. That's it.
So you think that maybe if BTC goes down to like 1920, then you'll get that?
You could, but you need that capitulation candle. You need one of two things. You need a big capitulation candle, or you need vol to start dropping. Because if vol starts dropping and price holds or is rising, right? Then we'll probably pull back and look for another leg. And now price is moving in the right direction. Catching a falling knife is catching price dropping, even though activity is rising, because rising activity can continue to rise. Does that make sense? So basically, activity dead, right? Price drops with it. Now you've got activity, and activity can continue to spike. We don't want that. What do we want? We want stock to drift. We want volume to die. We want a capitulation event into a spike. And then we're looking for entries. Because now you'll probably start trading sideways off of that capitulation event. And then after that, vol will start to drop and you'll continue sideways. And then when vol hits its lowest peak, you'll get a leg up, right? And then vol will spike, and then vol will start to drop, and you'll start to capitulate again, and then you'll get a leg up in vol, and you'll get a leg up in price.
I mean, this is something that's going to do good on the next bull run if prices continue to.
Well, here's the thing. I think trading activity on coin is high because that's what people are thinking. Does that make sense? Everybody's saying the same thing with coin. Everybody. So if everybody's saying the same thing, what does that tell you?
Gonna do the opposite.
Well, it could do the opposite or what? Or you're too early to the trade, too early to the buy.
Mm.
If everybody's telling you this thing's shit, it's not going to move a Bitcoin, it's garbage, don't buy. That's when I look.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, people's attitude toward this thing is bad. I need to look into buying this. Palantir, I was looking at it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody's telling me, oh, it's going to go to 1, it's going to go to 3, it's going to go to 2, it's garbage. It's no good. Now, what does everybody in the news say? Palantir, the next software, the next company to really make it. It's going to be the next Tesla. Why? Because it had a big pump. This is the part you guys got to understand. Like, if people are talking about it, you're late to the trade. You are late. You're late. That's just how it is. You guys got it. You got to be able to find this stuff. Like, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna tell you guys what I find. But if more of you guys were active in looking for things that are dead on the floor with the exact scenarios I showed you with vol and RSI, and look for bull divs and stuff like that with falling price, falling knife look plays that look like they're falling knives, and you're basically in there and you're like, oh, this got a bull div on this falling knife. We need to start paying attention to this. And you start looking at it and maybe even taking position on it. That's where you're gonna succeed way more than your traditional retail. You'll probably even do way better than freaking hedge funds. Because hedge funds do what? They come in and they buy the same things, and that most of their positions is long only. Some of them hedge short, right? But they buy the same things because the performance is the same, and they can keep their performance at the same rate in their books. Ideally, you want to be beyond that. You want to be ahead of them. You want to be buying this stuff while they're still eyeballing it and selling to them when they're ready to come in. We can cover Wi-Fi. Let's see. How was it? Yeah, we're at 2 hours. Okay, we'll cover Wi-Fi, and then I can cover a few more before I close the meeting. How did I got it on here? Oh, you know why? Hold on, I have it on here. Here, with a crypto, this is the only pair you need. How's Wi-Fi doing against Bitcoin? Anybody?
Might as well buy Bitcoin.
Might as well buy Bitcoin. If it's not exceeding or beating Bitcoin, it's relevant. But I would say this, it does have a solid floor here. Right? Good floor. It'll probably come back down and touch these wicks again. It's like, but like this is an ideal place to take a position. Honestly, I wouldn't be interested in Wi-Fi, being real with you. I think there's a lot better plays, but this is what I'd be looking for. You could take a position right here based off of Bitcoin. Based off Bitcoin. All right. Not price, based off Bitcoin. And that's all you're looking at. It's just like if you're in the stock market. You're trying to weigh everything against the SPY. If it's beating the SPY, you're in a good position. You could do the same thing with the SPY, by the way. Yeah, we can look at Carbon. I think I have that on here. CRV, I believe it is. Nope, that's CRV USDT.
CVNA.
Yeah,
No.
CVNA. Yeah. That's a lot of vol, bro. That's all I can say. Like, that's a lot of vol. That's looking good. You already got the drop in vol too. Like, yeah, I would say this is looking really good. You got back above resistance too. Look at that. Look, resist, resist, resist. If you close here in 3 days and 14 hours, your next move could be pretty high. Like I would be targeting something like this. Yeah, this one looks good too. This is one of those two that people were talking shit about and telling people how it's going to go to 0. Look at this. People bought it at 350, $4.50, $5.50, and it's now already back at $11. Imagine what position these people are going to be in once it gets back up here to 30. That's all I'm
This is
saying.
this is another one of those squeezes though, right? Like there's no way this company
It could.
can make
I'm,
it.
here's the thing. These companies are garbage. They are leeches on society. They're leeches on the business model in general, right? They try and find these niche little sectors that don't even matter, like BBBY, for instance, right? It sells candles and towels, and you can get that at Walmart. Why do I need to go to BBBY for? And people are like, oh, they have quality. You get quality anywhere. Anywhere. Costco has quality. Like that all I'm saying is like they have no real place, right? They're basically fluff in the market. They needed to be wiped out. But the reality is that all these people are trying to short squeeze all these companies, and they provided these companies with exit liquidity to keep them afloat until all this bearishness is over, and then these companies will be right back to where they started. Does that make sense?
I think the RSI is like on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, like any traders looking at this and like literally salivating at the mouth. And they're not even trying to like long it or short it. They're just trying to buy it and sell it to the next person. Yeah, no problem. Oh, let's see. Yeah, it's not even about a bull run or any of that crap, guys. Like you could see these guys, like they're coming in with big money buying this, right? Look at the spike in volume here. Like there's literally no interest in this stock. Like even from the COVID lows, look at volume. It's dead. Right? Nobody's interested in the stock. Nobody likes this business model. But all of a sudden, you've got 10 times more activity at these lows. Now, it could just be a squeeze, but the activity has gone on for quite a while here, right? Look at that? That's almost a year of activity. Do you think somebody's sitting here buying this for a whole year just for a squeeze? That's what you got to ask yourself. If it were short term, I would completely agree. Like the swings on BBBY were occurring in like days, right? But this thing is literally continuing to buy for an entire year from this drop. So we'll see how it plays out, but this could play. Could definitely play. Yeah, don't get emotionally married to anything, guys. Like especially in crypto. Look, crypto's an in and out, right? It's buying the bear, selling the bull. Sell it to the next person that wants it. In stocks, for me, a good chunk of it's long-term accumulation, but I'm accumulating at positions that make sense. And anytime I can accumulate at positions that make sense, I'm basically trying to make money with the money that I have sitting. That's basically how I position myself a lot in the market. But yeah, do we have any more questions or anything like that before we end the sesh?
Hey, well, when are you live with Because Bitcoin again?
I try to do it on a daily basis, man, but like I have some other stuff I do with them that kind of conflicts with that, but like I'll try and get in there throughout the week. They do have some things going on and stuff like that. They have some good takes. Some of those guys are like overly bullish with no TA aspects, but there are some good traders in there too. So like Premise is a good trader. I think Tommy's a good trader. Snorlax, both of them are good traders. So like you could definitely listen to what they got to say. I think right now we're all at different positions. Like I'm obviously long, Premise is long, and I think Tommy is short. But you know, I can't judge other traders for their positions. Because I could be wrong, they could be wrong at the end of the day. Maybe I'm completely off sides with my thoughts that we're gonna go up. But the reality is like that's my position, that's what I'm taking. And you know, if I'm right, it'll pay. If I'm not, if I'm wrong, it'll pay still because I'm short and long. I'm short from up here and I'm long from down here, and my stops all the way down around. I think 24.50 was my stop, 24.5. So my stop's all the way down here, and the reason I put my stop at 24.5 is because we'll be violating the one, right? And if we violate the one, we're going the other direction. That means I'll just hold my short that I have left of what's left of my short to the lows, right? And I'll take it from there. If we go back up, I'm gonna get my stop taken out up here. I think I'm 31.4 or something like that was my stop, 34, 31.4. I have to go back and look. But this my stops up here. And the reason my stop's up here, again, because it's above the high, right? So if we get above the high, we're gonna continue through. So both of these invalidations are in zones where are in my invalidation zones, right? Essentially. So that's typically where you want to be. You want to have your stops in your invalidations, so that way you don't have to worry about getting knocked out too early or too late.
That's a pretty cool hedge play you got there, man.
Yeah, it's I'm not sized in as much as I would have liked to been, but like this is such a sketchy spot right here. But I do think the long plays, but it could very well just kind of do this, right? And then come out and then maybe tap up and then roll over. So that's always a possibility too. And the reason that could play is because this impulse wave that I'm talking about, that I told you guys about here, it could also become an ABC, which would be bad, but it's just basically an A into a B into a C wave. And if you get an ABC, you're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back down. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occurs to the downside versus the upside. But I think it's the opposite. I think it's the impulse up. And if it's the impulse up and this plays, I'm telling you the higher low is the more likely play here, right? If the ABC plays here and we fail and come back down, I would think very, very much that we end up forming lower lows. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
So you know what to look for if we're looking for a lower low, and you know what to look for if we're looking for a higher low. I just gave you my game plan for this move. So that's my overall view on this. Yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah, those guys are all solid. Max is a good trader too. Max is actually a lot better than a lot of people think. He's really good at evaluating fair value gaps and stuff like that, which I've really noticed. So definitely keep an eye on him and ask him his position if you guys are ever super curious. And they do bring people from the audience up if you guys have questions. Yeah, Max with Because Bitcoin.
Right on.
I notice it seems like sometimes Snorlax gets kind of defensive after you're done speaking.
He does because it's just because he's hedged separately. He's hedged the other way, right? And I've been right on the past couple moves, you know, as far as where the market's been going, and he's been off a little bit, but like it happens. Everybody's off every once in a while. So, but they're all good. They're all good guys. They're just, you know, some of them are young, so they haven't had as much trading experience, but you know they're getting there. I would say they're definitely getting there. So for their age, they're pretty good. I would say that, right? For their age, they're pretty good. And for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you guys, like I'm 37, so like I've been doing this for a while.
When did you start?
Sure.
When did you start getting into TA?
In my 20s. So it's been something I've been really dialed into, and it's taken me a while to kind of create my own strategy, my own thesis and stuff like that, and my own way to come at the market, and it works for me, right? I'm at the end of the day, the most ideal position you could take is that you're always gaining more money year by year. If you take it from a year by year stance, you're always profiting every single year, then you're in a good position. You can't take it month by month because some months you lose, some months you win. Some weeks you lose, some weeks you win. But if you take it from a year by year state, you know, outlook, and you're in the green every single year, you're on the right track to building real wealth, right? And there comes a point to like once you get to a certain dollar amount where you have to start protecting and hedging. And if you're not doing that, you're going to lose that money. And that's what I consistently try to teach you guys on a regular basis. In time, I think it will fill in for some, and others, I think it's already kind of started to settle in. And others, it may never hit them, right? They come in with all their chips and they want to throw them all in on red, and they hope that they hit. And if they don't hit, they got to go make more chips and come back in again. And that's not how markets work. If that's what you're doing, then I'll tell you, you'll probably lose all your money every single time you come in. And one time you'll hit, and you'll probably come back in with it again and lose it again. So you got it. You got to come at these markets with the right approach, guys.
Yeah, I personally think that your just your mental attitude and just your whole approach to all of this, Will, is actually beyond your age. So, mate, congratulations.
Yeah, it takes time though. It takes time, takes patience, and you got to lose enough before you actually realize I'm only screwing myself.
Yeah, no, I've just got a lot of respect for your outlook. That's all. So,
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
I appreciate it. Did you have something, Erica? I know you were talking a little bit ago.
Good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Let's see. As far as debt ceiling deal, well, guys, like, look, and girls, the debt ceilings, I would just rule it as nothing burger. I would just take it as like something that you should just kind of ignore. Could it create volatility in the market temporarily? Yes. I posted a thing on it. There's actually a safety position that the Fed can do if the debt ceiling doesn't get passed immediately, right? So they have defensives that the Fed can do as like emergency funds. People with like, Social Security and 401ks or whatever, different things that they get paid from the government, not 401ks, but Social Security and stuff like that, and retirements and everything, they will still receive funds. The portions that won't get money will be government portions. So Congress won't get paid. People in government probably won't get paid, but the people will continue to get paid. There are emergency acts that they can place in to make sure that people are getting their money. So, like, even though I know that they've been, fear mongering on the news and stuff like that, that people will not get their Social Security check. Yes, they will. They will. There's an actual act in place for that. The Fed can come in and fund that situation until the debt ceiling situation is resolved, and the government will be the one that won't be getting paid, basically, essentially. And then if you can drag it for long enough where they'll run out of liquidity completely, yeah, you could cause the debt ceiling collapse, and we'd default on our loans and everything like that. But the likeliness of that actually playing out, very unlikely. But they could definitely run the debt ceiling past the date of, and we could still be okay, if that makes sense.
No, what I was saying is I just heard that it actually will get worse once the deal is done, because basically the government needs to print a lot of money to pay whatever they gotta pay, so that would drain liquidity from the stock market.
So them printing money would drain money from the stock market?
Because
it's
they're buying the debt.
Oh, because they're buying debt?
Like people buying the treasury bills, and then like if they issue like $80 billion or whatever, that money will go from the stock market to buying the bills.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and that is traditionally what happens, right? Is typically you'll see them rotate to bonds and stuff like that, and then also T-bills, right? They'll also buy those. So T-bills and bonds will be kind of the play for them. And I think T-bills and bonds do print. I just think it's that we're not there yet. I think that's more towards the end of the year is where T-bonds and bills will play. T-bills and bonds will play. And then, once we get to that position, I think that it'll rotate back to that liquidity will rotate back to stocks and stuff like that. If you notice, like, if you look at interest rates, like on bonds right now, they're extremely high, right? And there's just no interest to buy them. The only way that they can get people at this point to drop their, I would say, stock positions and go into bonds is to fabricate a recession, which is what I think they are working on doing. I just think that it's going to take longer than they thought. or because they thought they could fabricate this thing much faster. And I think it's going to take them years to fabricate versus, months to fabricate. So, and when I say years, I mean like, maybe 1 or 2 more years. We'll probably see that fabrication come to fruition. Now, you're probably like, why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. It's because they need people to buy bonds. Because if they don't buy bonds, what happens to the rates of bonds? They go up, right? The government does not want to be paying 10% interest rates on bonds. They don't, right? Somebody would throw 100 billion in for 10%, and it would be a significant return for them. Yeah, the government would have that money temporarily, but it's just too much to pay, right? It's too much to print off, and it would actually create inflation issues if interest rates got too high, and then they had to pay those interest rates later on. That would create huge inflation issues. China news push could. Don't worry about Don't worry about China. Don't worry about the U.S. Don't worry about debt ceiling. Don't worry about war. Look at the charts. Read what they tell you. Understand where price is. Buy if price is appropriate to where you want to start dialing in. Right? Again, I'm going to show you an example. Price is primed. This is a buy. If price goes deeper, I'll look for another buy on a capitulation event. Right? Don't put all your eggs in at once. If I have $500 to allocate to Zoom, I'll probably do 250, 300 here. And then if it goes deeper, do another 100. And if it goes deeper, do another 100. Right? Just break up your position appropriately. Take positions as they are. This is a good price. I'm telling you guys, like I bought, and I tell you just because I bought here, right? Like I'm not you and I and all of us in this group are not going to push price around. So it's not like I'm trying to get you to buy my bags. The point I'm telling you is like these are positions where you should be looking to enter and then continue to enter if price gets deeper. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So keep that in mind. If you are still sitting on cash, you have optimal entries. If the market starts to move without you, and you come to me and you're like, hey, I'm all in cash, waiting for a bottom. I've given you plenty of optimal entries. Will I try to help you find entries on other things? Yes, but you have to buy, at that point, what's left. Rather than buying ahead on all the availability. You don't want to be the person buying what's left. Think about it. All right. Yeah. I don't. I've heard different things with China too. Just so you guys know, like somebody's talking about like, oh, they're gonna do this and that, and China's bringing billions and yada 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 yada. Look, China. I think we're gonna separate from China as far as dependency, stuff like that. I think the U.S. has already started making that move to reposition itself against China rather than with it, due to the moves that China has made against the U.S. And and I think Mexico is one of those. By the way, I do think Mexico is one of our ways of moving against China. Is we're moving more manufacturing to Mexico. We're moving more manufacturing back to the U.S. Will increase pricing of product, but at the end of the day, it will make product more available. It'll make it more readily available. So, I think in the end, like without the liquidity from the U.S., China suffers, and I don't think it will bring all this money to the market. I still think the U.S. is the leader when it comes to equity and liquidity. I think Europe probably a strong second, and then China might be a strong third from there. And then moving into something like the euro's been strong for a long time, guys. The euro, the pound, and the US dollar have been the strongest currencies out there. So like you got to consider that when you're thinking like China's going to do all this and that, like they have not been on top when it comes to like strength of their currency. Their currency has been devalued immensely, but it's just their way of being able to manipulate imports and exports in a way that benefits them. So they have to keep on like devaluing their currency. So their currency isn't really worth much. It's just not. Not in the eyes of the world, not in the eyes of the US. That's why we make them hold dollars and we don't hold one. So keep that in mind. Like when you're thinking about it. But I do think like Mexico has a position. They could definitely take a better position. You got some Tesla factories being built in Mexico now, right? Which I think Elon Musk is also seeing the writing on the wall with China, and that's why he's doing that. And you're seeing a lot of businesses kind of moving that direction in South America to Mexico.
I was gonna say I'm very optimistic with Mexico because like for years it's like been a lot of propaganda against them. Like they try to like tell us all about the cartel and this and that, but really like they have a lot of hard workers over there. And also like they have a lot of universities over there and they have a lot of engineers coming out of Mexico. Like from the company I worked for, I know there's so many engineers coming out of Mexico. But I mean, you won't know that, from our news or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people play Mexico down like it's some kind of poor country that nobody needs to worry about. But I think they're a well progressing country. Behind the US for sure, but I think that they are working on their way moving towards that direction. They have cheap labor, right? Which is what a lot of businesses look for. That's why they go to countries and stuff like that. And they're our next door neighbors, so why not use them? That's just the way I look at it. The funny part is though is that we'll use Mexico, but we won't use Canada. Nobody builds anything in Canada. I just find that so funny. It's like, okay, we're building all these factories and everything in South America, Mexico, but nobody wants to build anything in Canada. And I think it's more due to their rules and regulations. And there's a lot of things going on with Canada. I think a lot of places don't like it in the US. So you're just not seeing business flow that direction. But yeah, that's my thoughts, guys. Do we have any more questions? Already midnight here.
Buenas noches.
Thanks,
Alrighty.
Will.
No problem. I'll put the recording up. I'll try and get it up tonight if I can. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning. I just gotta wait for it to convert. So whenever we had these meetings, it does some kind of like weird conversion that takes like an hour, sometimes longer, depending on how long the thing is. So just be expecting that between today and tomorrow morning, and I'll get it up.
Hey, did you mention the loyal coin at the beginning?
Yep. Yep. It's one of the first conversations we had. So the address that Ben.eth provided, that's where you'd send that if you want the loyal coin. And then, obviously I talked about how I think the Ben token and the PSYOP token will all work in an ecosystem together somehow, some way. And they'll probably make a use case for it or something like that. You know how it is. You know how these influencers are. Just we're gonna make up some world where this does something and you guys are gonna all buy it up and then you're gonna like 200x the move and then then they'll dump their bags. It could be a good play though going into the bull run. I do want to point that out too. So I have two different wallets. One I've been trading these cryptos on, and the other one I've just been holding, and I'll probably hold it into the bull run. Just to kind of see where it goes. I think it's worth the air and opportunity at the end of the day. So that's a position I'm taking too.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting into these 3 coins. It's more for the next bull run more than anything. I'm just kind of tucking them away. I mean, I'm not really investing much in them, but I did get some of the I did get the airdrop, and yeah, man, really looking to see what they can do on the next one. Maybe it could be the next.
Yeah.
Sheev.
I mean, if anything, it's front row seats to either the fun show or or you're going to get rugged. One of the two.
Yep, yeah. Either way, man. I mean, it's just it's not gonna bankrupt me or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't be overly aggressive. You'll be fine. That's all I would say. Like if you got like a couple thousand you're working with, maybe throw like 100 at them and split it up and see what it does.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, guys. We will chat next week. I'm sorry about the times, guys. Like I'm doing what I can. It's really crazy. I've been super busy and I'm trying to like find new stuff for us and everything like that. Me and you guys. As far as like projects and stocks. I keep talking about the same ones, but I think there's more out there. I just gotta find them and then I'll chart them out and let you guys know as soon as I get them. All right.
Sounds
Have a
good.
great rest of your evenings or mornings, whichever one it is. And I'll see you guys next week.
Sounds
Thank
good,
you.
man. Enjoy the 3-day weekend.
No problem. All right. See ya.